This is the original Red Power Ranger, and this is the very last Red Power Ranger. Now, subsequently, this is the original Red Super Sentai, making this guy the last one, who coincidentally, we're reviewing today. Now, as of a couple weeks ago, number 1 Sentai Gozyu has finally ended, and with it, Super Sentai as a brand is now on hiatus. Now, to quickly summarise the series, it's essentially a massive battle royale between a lot of people who want their wishes to be granted by this god named Tegazord, created by the combination of the previous Super Sentai teams. These are global powers of previous Red Rangers, as well as a completely brand new team called the Gozyujas. These guys are also in the Ring War and have to collect all the rings themselves in order to get their wish granted. Over the series, we see several obstacles such as the Calamity, the other Ring Warriors, AI, but as a whole, I absolutely love Gozyu. It's probably one of my favourite Super Sentai seasons we've had. It's honestly just such a fun season. I really do like the premise of it, and the whole gimmick of it is pretty cool. In fact, so much, I've got some myself. I do absolutely love the cast as well. The Gozyujas themselves are a very fun team to follow, as well as the Calamity having some of the greatest villains in the entire brand as well. Now, it's not perfect because of the certain issues like the the Maya incident, but as a whole, I absolutely adore this series. And so, of course, being made by mostly Bandai, you would honestly expect them to have some Figuarts, and they did. So with Shinkocho, we've had an updated line of Super Sentai Figuarts, more accurate to their on-screen counterparts and more uniquely sculpted for each series. We've mostly had Red Rangers from the most recent Sentai seasons, as well as a couple of the older ones, and so you expect them to do Gozyu Warp here. And they did. I gotta say, this guy looks amazing. I genuinely cannot fathom how good this guy looks. If you saw my top 10 of last year, you already know this was placed at number 3, so I absolutely love this figure. Now, he didn't get number 1 because there was another Red Ranger that I really liked. I was absolutely not butchered in the American adaptation. I was not at all slandered to bits. To get things off the aesthetics of the figure, he looks pretty much spot on to his on-screen counterpart. There's nothing I can fault with him for the design. Now, the Gozyu just have a very unique style of suit with having a more textured design for black parts. This is present on the figure and it does look very nice. Contrasting this is with a nice array of reds as well as the very striking gold colour they chose. I really do love the gold they picked. Genuinely, under some great lighting, it looks absolutely incredible. This might genuinely be some of the best gold painting in my collection. It looks that good. You can even see it on the foot soles as well. I genuinely didn't even know that this was on the suit, but that's a really cool detail. The main ring on his chest has a nice translucent red to it, and it does pop very nicely under the lights. And of course, you cannot forget about the helmet. It looks perfect with the black visor going all around the helmet. This genuinely might be one of the nicest looking figures in my collection. It just looks perfect to the on-screen counterpart. I cannot fault this guy at all. I will say the only thing is that the spiky bits on some of like the edges, like the arms and legs, do not only feel a little bit sharp, but also essentially asking to be broken. Like you have to be careful with this guy, because if your finger ends up in this, then it'll most likely be broken off. So you do not want to replace this shit. Oh, bro. Now, in terms of articulation with his new style of body mold, you have to expect some good articulation, and good articulation this figure absolutely does have. To start off with, he's got a double neck joint, so you're going to have a very nice range of head movement, both forward and fairly decent backwards. But here is where I run into my first fault, around the torso area. Now, he's got another ball joint, which does have some pretty decent movement. However, it is a bit hindered by the circle, ring thing, whatever it is, like target. It's not the worst, but it is noticeable. Also around this area, if I turn your attention to the arms, if you lift them up a little bit, then you can see some gaping holes into the figure's suit. Now, depending on where you pose this guy, it's not as noticeable. However, you can't really excuse it if you have it in like a very dynamic jumping pose, so that is something to consider. I do kind of wish it was covered up a bit more nicely. If it means we're getting nice articulation, then fair enough, but it is something to consider there. Anyway, we've got butterfly joints on the figure. Single jointed arms, I'm only just realising, but to be fair, it's not actually that bad, but it is single jointed. Cut to the legs, obviously we got a very nice front kick, and backwards movement, yes, he can in fact hit his own arm, and of course a nice range of foot swivel. In terms of articulation, he is pretty good, I'll give him that. I don't think he's the best articulation in certain type figure, but I might have to go to Akaranger, but you know what, he's definitely one of the better ones. Now in terms of accessories, I cannot wait to tell you what a nice range of... Yeah, we don't get that much. To be fair, I guess we don't need that many accessories for this guy. It literally is just hands, but I mean, it kind of would have been nice to get his sword. There you go, he uses for like 5 minutes. He did eventually get it in his action hero form, which I'm pretty sure was the Costco exclusive one, so that's kind of annoying, but it would have been nice to get it here as well. I don't think it would have brought the cost that much, but it definitely is a kind of significant weapon, so I do kind of wish they did add it here. I mean, it does come with the bare minimum, which is, well, his Tega sword. Once again, it is painted very nicely, even to the little ring. Obviously, it's not fully painted, but I think for something that small, it's fair enough. It is painted very nicely and has some nice translucent blades, which can even open up. So, like when you do, like, you know, fish finger. Additionally, the left hand also has a sculpted ring on the finger as well, to obviously mimic the Tega sword ring he has. So I think that's very nice detailing as well. Yeah, he doesn't have that many accessories, but I think the detail it offers makes up more than makes up for it. However, there is one accessory that does also come with this guy that isn't technically for him, but it's more for us.
I thought that broke.
Yes, this is basically it. These Sentai rings are essentially the main gimmick of the series, and in this case it is a special 50th anniversary Figuarts ring. I believe this is the official ring for the Gozyu team as well, so that is kind of nice to have. You do get 2 sizes for the actual like ring slots for your fingers, so it's either for a child or a man-child. And of course, this goes without saying, but there's obviously a load of other rings as well that you can collect throughout the entire Gozyu line, whether it's like the average ring set or like gift boxes. There is a lot of rings to collect, and I've got some myself, and they are definitely very nice. Honestly, these are just really nice to have in order to represent my favorite teams, and honestly, I think over 2 months I collected all the ones I really needed, which is kind of hilarious. So it's kind of safe to say that I'm done with these at the moment, until I can get Akaranger. So overall, this Gozyu Wolf figure is looking very, very nice. I honestly love this figure. However, there is something missing to this. Something very, very significant is missing from this collection. You see, Gozyu Wolf is technically part of a 2-figure set to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the brand. With Gozyu Wolf being representing the 50th year, we have to obviously represent the first year of the brand. So that could only mean one thing. Yeah, you didn't expect me to not have this set incomplete. We had to obviously get Akaranger, and I have been waiting on this figure for months now, only to find him on a very decent price for eBay standards. This is the SH Figuarts Shinkocho Seiho Akaranger Akaranger. Now this guy is the original granddaddy of the Super Sentai. This is the original guy, like not even like of the team, just the first Super Sentai. Now believe it or not, this is actually not the first time we've seen this guy in the Figuarts line, because he actually ended up being released 12 years earlier in September 2014. Now, compared to that figure, this is a completely brand new sculpt and mold from the ground up, reshaped and resculpted to fit in with the Shinkocho Seiho subline. I am so sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I love speaking. The Akaranger suits honestly are kind of hard to mess up. I mean, they are classic suits. Compared to the Gozyu suits, these are a lot more simplified. This was during a time when obviously they were just starting out, so they were already trying to figure out the basics of the Sentai suits, which is why we probably ended up with shit like this. But anyway, back to the figure, he does look great. I do like how it looks. There was nothing wrong with that old figure, but I think generally they've just now refined him. He's got his own unique sculpt this time around. This guy, his proportions are fixed now, and they do look great. He's got the glossy finish across the helmet and the silver accents. The suit is very plain, but with the yellow like signature symbol and also the holster popping out from the red to break it apart, which looks very nice. He's got the Akaranger symbol adorned on his belt and boots, all painted very nicely. And in terms of details, it's spot on. He even got a little star on it. I don't see any mistakes on this figure. It's a lot more basic compared to the Gozyu suits, but It's not necessarily a bad thing, it still looks amazing. And of course, exclusive to this figure, he does have a fabric cape, but here is where the first issue comes in. Now, it is a wide cape, which is honestly amazing. I'm glad they did incorporate it into this figure. However, the way it's done, I'm a little mixed on. Now, instead of connecting towards like the shoulder area around the head, the whole cape is actually stuck on the back exactly, and there's not really any security around the neck whatsoever. Now, this does lead to a lot more articulation around the head as well as freedom with the cape, but this does also mean that it's not really secure, so in specific poses, it will just literally like look like it's floating off his back. I really do wish they could have had a solution to this. If it meant for a cape that didn't look off in photos, then I would have honestly just preferred if they just connected it fully as a whole. But yeah, this is probably my biggest complaint with the figure. It just depending on what pose it is, it can look annoying, but other than that, it is still a very solid looking figure. In terms of articulation, it does have some differences to Gozyu Wolf. It does still retain the double neck joint, which has a lot of articulation, which is very nice. But the arms are on a nice ball joint. Now, this guy doesn't actually have any butterfly joints, but the arms do have a bit of movement, which isn't much, admittedly. The yellow emblem doesn't actually block it a bit. It is more of a rubber-based material, so it's not going to block it. But even then, it hasn't got enough clearance. Having said that, you can still get a lot of movement across the arm. He does have the double elbow joint and of course the full swivel as well as the wrist swivel, which is pretty nice. No boot swivel as well actually, so that's a little bit annoying. The normal foot body movement and of course toe joints. So to be honest, he does have a little bit more limited articulation to Gozyu Wolves, but it's still great and all. It's still very articulated, but I think they did have some limitations with this figure in all honesty. However, where he does shine though is with the amount of accessories he does get. Obviously, he does come with a higher cost, so he has to absolutely have a lot more accessories. He has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sets of hands, including but not limited to grabbing hands 2, grabbing hands 3, and technically a 9th set which is not matching. One of them is when he's holding his visor to summon his weapon, and he does have a shaking hand to hand. I'm pretty sure this is actually specific to another figure, which is a Kamen Rider figure. I don't know the specifics of it, but I'm pretty sure that's what it implied to the instructions. So now, in terms of other accessories that are not hands, he does have his signature whip, which unfortunately isn't a wire, but it's just an actual string. It is just a literal string. With it, in fact, they did a wired cape. I do wish they honestly just did a wired whip. He does have his staff as well, which is very long and nicely detailed to where it needs to be. And it fits in one of his 18 million gripping hands as well. Another weapon he has is just a straight up Glock, which is kind of funny. It's not even like exaggerated. It's just like a pistol. Now you may notice there is one in his holster, but this is actually just halfway down, which he can take out, and you can put this little extra holster piece in, which is absolutely impossible to get in. I've tried for like 15 minutes. It's not even fun to put in. He does have a little jetpack belt piece. I don't know where this is from, but they are a little bit different just because of how the belt is. As of this video, I've not tried to put them on yet, so I don't know how it fits, but yeah. And he does also have his Akaranger Hurricane, and he does have 2 separate pieces to mimic different forms of it, so it's kind of cool. And finally, last but not least, hidden underneath the first tray, we have the 50th anniversary display plaque. Now, unfortunately, this isn't not like a stand, it's literally just a base which you can put your figures on, but specifically Akaranger and Gozyu Wolf. It does give the illusion that there are peg holes. You can put peg holes in here, but it's not the case. But it is still a pretty nice plaque regardless. He has the upper hand on Gozyu Wolf, but the quality of the accessories does vary like a little bit. The whip is definitely the worst out of the bunch, just because it can't really get the most value out of it, aside from just holding it like nonchalantly in his hands. But honestly, just the massive selection makes the price even more justified. We will talk about it in a bit, I promise. Okay, now that we've reviewed both figures, time to go into some comparisons. That took me way too many attempts than it should have. Like, seriously, how am I so bad at speaking? So Gozyu Wolf stands out a little bit just under 6 inches, around the 5.9 area. Although I'm pretty sure the golden ears bring him up to about 6 inches, so take that as you will. And Akaranger actually is a short king himself, coming to around 5.5 inches. But hey, being a short king isn't necessarily a bad thing. Just keep that in mind. Now, as of this video, I don't have too many Super Sentai figures that are like in the new scale. So here are the figures next to Gokai Red from the Shinkocho Seiho line. Here they are with a Lightning Collection figure. Now, ironically, the Gozyu Wolf actually scales pretty well with the Lightning Collection figures, considering they are around 6 inches a piece, and he is basically 6 inches, so he actually fits in pretty well. Here he is next to a couple of the FSH Figuarts Spider-Man, and here is a couple of the Marvel Legends Spider-Man. Here are a couple of Marvel Legends that have absolutely nothing to do with Tokusatsu or any of that influence. Hamster Chef himself, Autism Crime, and finally we've got a... So as we reach the end of today's review, what do I think about these two figures? Well, I think you can probably guess how I feel about these figures. I absolutely love them. I think this is a very nice little set to have to commemorate the 50th anniversary of probably one of Japan's biggest IPs. Like, it's been that influential to the culture of it, it's unreal. I think out of the two, I think I prefer Gozyu Wolf just a little bit more. I think he's just overall more slightly refined figure. He's got some better articulation. Yeah, he may not have as many accessories, but I think overall he's just a little bit more of an interesting figure. Now, as for Akaranger, I think he's also very good. However, I think he does suffer from a couple more issues rather than Gozyu Wolf. Mainly the articulation department as well as the way they did their cape. So, yeah, some things to improve on from the future. But honestly, I cannot recommend these figures enough. These are just peak figures. So I think that concludes today's review, and honestly, I'm still sad that Sentai is over for now, but it truly has been probably one of my favourite IPs from the past year. It has just been, I think it's just a great representation of, I guess, heroes. In a way, they will always exist, and no matter what colour or shape they come in, they'll always be around. This sounds so childish. I think that generally is how influential they are. They've existed for the past 50 years, and they've pretty much been a part of culture in some shape or form. And they will definitely be a gap that I'm probably trying to fill with Kamen Rider right now. But with that being said, I do hope that we do meet in the future, and I truly hope that Super Sentai will go on for years to come, even if it's not directly existing. It truly is that special.